Well, certainly a very heated broadcast. We're coming to you from here at a hijacked building in the inner city of Johannesburg. We had the MMC that was here for safety telling us that this building should not be occupied by residents. It has been declared unsafe. It is not fit for humans to be staying here or anybody to be staying here. I mean, let me just show you, we've just come here and this is the situation. I mean, people are living here and I mean, it is just in the most horrific condition. There are 81 rooms that are full to the brim of people that live here, and they just won't leave. And this is the reality of many of the buildings. And the MMC was telling us that there's about 500 buildings that are like this in the inner city of Joburg. And this is the old fire station that they just cannot get back. Angela Rivers, who's the general manager of the Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association, is joining us now to just talk about this. I mean, Angela, this building is, nobody should be living in here. This is in a very desperate state.
It is quite desperate. I've never been in this building before, but I can tell you I've been in a lot worse. Yeah. So this is kind of tame compared to what we usually see in a hijacked building. I mean, the fact that there's still metal railings is quite impressive, because usually all the metal and anything that's of value will usually be removed from the building.
I mean, you were even telling me that in one of the buildings you went to, there was a dead body that you could smell, but you didn't know where it was coming from. It ended up coming from one of the lift shafts.
Correct. Yeah, that was a recently renovated building by the private sector, Remington House, where they managed to finally get an eviction order, and in the space of a year they converted a severely hijacked building with over 600 residents into beautiful student accommodation.
Yeah. So tell me about basically in terms of, I mean, I spoke to the MMC and I saw his frustration. In fact, it's more than frustration. He is borderline angry at the moment. And you can see, as much as they're trying to do the jobs, they're fighting the law and they cannot do their jobs. But I mean, you know this. So talk to me about where is the problem? Where does the problem come from?
So the biggest problem that we have is obviously our laws protect the tenants, and that's a huge problem that we're not really going to we can't change the current law without going through the constitutional courts. So what we can do is bylaw enforcement is a big thing. The fact that this building is unlivable and should be condemned is enough, where the safety of the tenants overrides the laws themselves, because that's really what it boils down to, is that these conditions are inhabitable.
Yeah, they are. But, you know, I have spoken, and I'm glad we're going to touch on this, because I've spoken to 3 different residents that live here, and all of them deny they pay rent to anybody. And they say, no, we live here for free, there is no rent. You know, and I know that can't be the case here. What's actually going on?
No one lives for free. That's the reality of it. And one of the reasons why people would not admit that they're paying rent is because, first of all, if they get an eviction, the law says that they have to pay the same rental in the place that they move to. So if they say they're not paying rent here, it means they can go live somewhere for free, technically. The other side of it is they're more afraid of the building hijackers than they are of the emergency services, JMPD and SABC. Yeah. The hijackers are relentless. It's their income. You know, a building like this, I could guess, is probably making about 150,000 Rand a month tax-free. Wow. They're not paying water, they're not paying electricity, they're not paying rates. And you know, one of the biggest issues that we have with hijacked buildings is the effect that it has on the surrounding buildings. And I can give you an example. Casimir, for example, in Berea, our landlord next door to that building is losing 200,000 Rand a month on loss of rentals, sewer, because you still have to pay sewer and refuse whether the flats are empty, extra security, pest control. So that's over 2 million Rand a year that they're losing on loss of income just being next door to a hijacked building.
I mean, if I look around what we've got here, I mean, we've got APSA, that's just a hop, skip and a jump away. You've got the Transnet building. The buildings around here, I mean, these are buildings that are meant to be the CBD and of the inner city. And I mean, these are valuable properties and buildings that are absolutely beautiful. But in and amongst that, there's literally slums. And the fear is that the inner city of Johannesburg is turning into, or perhaps is already, one big slum. How would you describe the inner city of Johannesburg?
So I'm a little bit more optimistic than that.
Help me, because I'm not feeling very optimistic at the moment.
Look, it's very difficult when you're reporting on hijacked buildings, but I think there are pockets of excellence throughout the city where developers and landlords are paying for private security, paying for private cleaning, and they've created little precincts or big precincts where they manage and look after their own public spaces. And there are places like Jewel City where if you walk through there, you feel like you could be in New York or Chicago. It's very upmarket, it's well looked after, and it's what we call the dead zones within those precincts where we find these elements of slums and hijacked buildings.
Let me just wrap this up. I mean, and I'm hoping, as you say, you're giving me a bit of optimism. Can we win the battle? Because it looks like the government officials, this is a government building. And as the MMC was saying, this is my building and I'm telling you to leave. But no one's listening to him because the law is not on his side. It is on the people that live in this building's side. Is there a way that we can get control back of this?
Absolutely, and it's all about partnerships. Public-private partnerships are the only way to overcome this issue. Government needs to work with existing landlords and developers who have been in this space for 20 years. We've got the IP, we've got the know-how, we know how to convert a building from a hijacked building to student accommodation in the space of a year. The city's not able to do that because they don't have the knowledge and the know-how, but we do, and we're saying, work with us and we will help you. It's all of our city.
But to get rid of the people that refuse to leave, how do they do that?
So that you have to go through the courts and you have to do the eviction process, but we need alternative accommodation and we're saying we have solutions.
And that's what people are asking for, alternate accommodation, because these guys have nowhere to go. And the problem is bigger than just what we're seeing here. I mean, there are just so many social factors that are intertwined into what is making this a very big problem. But leaving this on a more optimistic note, and we thank you for that, that we can make this happen, we can make this city work. Angelo Rivers is the General Manager of the Johannesburg Property Owners and Managers Association.